Create content that will attract clients to hire you in 2025. Content that will give you visibility and content that will show that you're a master in your niche. All right. Welcome to the 21 Days LinkedIn Challenge. And just before you start this challenge, this is something, there are certain things that I need you to know about, especially for people who will this will be their first time embarking on such things so that you don't post or you don't create content that doesn't speak your value, that doesn't, achieve the goal which you want, which is getting clients to hire you, you getting hired, and also getting that global visibility that you want. All right. So just before we launch that, start doing the creating content, I just want to run through at least two things that we need to understand before we start this journey. So one of them I'm going to be talking about is the content strategy. Because if you're going to create content, you need to have a content strategy. You need to know what exactly you are doing. And which is one of them involves that under the content strategy, you can see that I have different things here that I've highlighted, and you need to make sure that you are able to answer these questions before you start creating that content. So you need to do a sincere audit, self-audit, and ask yourself, because you are a brand, whether you like it or not, you are providing service to business owners, right? Or sometimes your service could be to consumers. So it doesn't matter whoever your service is for or whoever your product is for. Now, so the first thing you want to highlight is that you want to ask yourself is what your brand strategy, you want to analyze your brand strategy. So just like you're seeing it here, I want you to write it out on a sheet of paper and also ask yourself all of those questions. And then ask yourself your brand strategy. What is your brand strategy? Now, under the brand strategy, you want to ask yourself what your brand is, right? What your brand is and what does your brand do. You need to ask yourself, what does your brand do? Meaning, what problem do you want to solve? Now, you want to start posting on LinkedIn or you want to start posting on any social media platform, but the question you have to ask yourself is, what does your brand do? What does your brand solve? What problem are you trying to solve? It's very, very important. Now, the next one is, how does your brand solve this problem? Because these are things that people will ask you. How would you solve this problem? If I hire you, if I get you, if I put you on my payroll, how will you be able to help me solve the problem that I've hired you to do? So these are the things that your content want to entail. Now, another question is, why do you do what you do? Was it out of maybe you had a passion? I mean, I've spoken to people a couple of times and they tell you that because I worked in a company before where I saw that the customer service wasn't really great. And these were the challenges I noticed. And this is the reason why I want to be a customer service support for maybe fintech companies or for healthcare, health tech organizations and the likes, right? So you need to understand why you want to do what you are currently doing or what you want to do, whatever it is. Now, the answer to this question is you're simply asking yourself, why should people listen to you or why should people buy from you? If you can answer all those three questions, then one problem is already solved. Now, the next stage we want to go into is the audience strategy, the audience phase. Now, you want to ask yourself, who are your audience? Are your audience startup business owners? Are your audience, you need to figure out what exactly your audience are, who your audience are rather. You need to look at which industry are your audience. Is it in the health tech space? Is it in the fintech space? Is it in the agri-tech space? Is it for NGOs? You need to figure, that's why you need to figure out brand strategy first. Know the problem you want to solve, right? And when you know the problem you want to solve, then the next thing is the audience strategy phase will be very easy for you to answer. So you will know the exact people. So is it consumers, end users that are your customers, or or is it business owners that are your audience? So you know the kind of your content will target the right people. If it is the end users or if it is the business owners that your content needs to target. So you need to figure out that. So you want to know who your target audience are. What do you do for them? What do you do for them? You need to figure that out. And when they need you, how to make them buy from you. You need to understand this. In fact, this question of who your target audience. So I'm going to use myself as an example. I train people on digital skills, and or when I started initially, I didn't know who my target audience were. In fact, I knew that my target audience were between students, professionals, and entrepreneurs, and probably business owners. But I was creating my content was not focusing on one. My content was just all over the place. So today my content is focusing on students. Tomorrow is focusing on professionals. Next tomorrow is focusing on entrepreneurs. So it was just like people didn't even understand who exactly I was talking to. So it made it difficult for me myself to be able to even find my ideal clients, right? So I had to do an audit, self-audit, and then come back to this brand strategy. And I began to ask myself, and then I went for a coaching section, which I spoke to the coach and he told me something. He said, you need to pick out one out of all of these people and look at who exactly you think, okay, for now, might be able to afford your service. Number two, you need to look at who, he told me a couple of things. He asked me a couple of things, and one of those things, and I ended up deciding that, okay, I'm just going, while looks like my service might be for almost these four categories, but I have to focus on one. And then I picked out one single, audience